This documentary was filmed and produced on the traditional unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
I really liked Steve the moment I met him. I thought he was, you know, a real vibrant, special guy. I still do.
He was a highly excitable young man. I would say almost frantic, like.
So I was pretty much convinced the character Spicoli, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, was based on Steve Kaplan.
It's his drive to entertain the world.
I was just impressed that he kept at it for so many years.
The kid in the candy store of magic, imagination, creation, and anything you can imagine bringing us together and entertaining us.
My parents separated when I was 4 years old, and I was really too young, obviously at the age of 4, to understand what the impact of that actually meant. What it meant to me and my impression at such a young age was that, oh, I got to have 2 houses to live at. I'd see my father every weekend, you know, so it was good. I got to be with my father every single weekend, and I grew up with my mom and my 2 older sisters. I was the baby. I was on a summer outing with a day camp, YMCA day camp, I believe it was, and I remember being there, and I remember, from what I remember of it, there was another young kid that and I were hanging out, and he was telling me that up in the bluffs there was an area where there was a slide, like a natural slide that took you from way up there all the way down to the beach, like literally all the way down to the beach. So we hiked our way up there, and we came to an area where you could see that there was an edge, and an edge that looked like it was going on an incline. And I thought, oh, there it is. I said, here, let me try. And that's the last thing I remember. And apparently, it did go like slanted for a while, and then went straight down. I was, when I fell off the cliff, I was 8 years old, and it was a 150-foot cliff, true story. What's really funny is I also have come to realize it's a bit of a foreshadowing of my career I mean, if you think about it, if an 8-year-old kid survived falling off a 150-foot cliff today, not only would it go viral on social media and go around the world, it would have been something that would have potentially been a media story worthy of spreading around the world. It did get a newspaper coverage. I got actually 2 articles that covered it that we still have to this day. And the first one, talks about that. The second one also had me apparently share that experience, because not only was I rescued that day, but another guy whose boat broke down somewhere needed to be rescued with it. I thought my story was definitely far more dramatic, but apparently they wanted to share that story and the guy whose boat broke down. 150-foot cliff fall, a boat breaking down. My father introduced me to magic, but not only did he introduce me to magic, he introduced me to the love of live entertainment. Definitely live, because when I grew up, my father worked the lighting, because my father was an electrician, and did the lighting at our local community center here, the Jewish Community Center, and did the lighting for all the productions that went on there. And as a young boy, I used to be there backstage with him on a lot of these theatrical productions, and I fell in love with the energy. I fell in love with the the feeling you could just feel from all the performers, they going on, them coming off, and there was just an excitement, and I got such a rush of it. You know, Dad let me just sit there. I'm sitting down, and he's running the lighting and stuff like that, and I loved it. And at the same place, they had annual events going on at the Jewish Community Center, and often there would be a magician performing. And of course, my dad would be doing the lighting for it, and I would be always getting right in the front row watching the magician. And every now and then, the magician would actually call me up on stage to help with it, and I loved it. I shook with excitement to go up on stage and be there to help the magician. So he knew I already liked magic, or really liked magic. But admittedly, I didn't ever think about myself as becoming a magician. It just wasn't something I thought, I didn't know. And when I was 12 years old, at that same center, they offered a magic course, and my dad just signed me up for it. I remember learning my very first trick, and it was, or the teacher, a guy named Stu Lang, whose stage name was Sudini. His very first trick he taught us was a trick called the dime through the table. I'm going to need to focus the energy on that dime to make it split up and fall through the table. So what I use is a simple salt shaker. Based on the way that it's physically built, it helps focus all that energy into the dime to in fact make that area of that table right there, as well as that area of the dime, split apart so the dime can fall through, form back together, and land to the floor. The only thing is that when I hit it to make the energy release, the energy is so blinding, I need to mask the energy just so that nobody's eyes would get hurt. Simply because I can't afford a lawsuit. So I would use make up a kind of an impromptu shield using some napkins on the table. And that's all it was this was it. He had set up for us this illusion with a great with a great setup where he would show that the dime is still on the table. He would put this on top of it, and he would say, now watch very carefully, watch around here, make sure no dime shoots out or goes anywhere when I make the magic happen. So I had everybody around us focusing in on the salt shaker, getting ready to do it, and he went 3, 2, 1, and like that, and everybody just was dead silent. He lifted up the napkin, the dime was still there, but the salt shaker was gone. The salt shaker, as it went, had penetrated right through the table. And this was the trick that really, it was really exciting because he showed it, wowed me, then explained it, which again, okay, that's really cool, but it wasn't just teaching us how to do a trick. It was teaching us the importance of the presentation of a trick. And as it turns out, somebody who's also had been a big part of my career and still is, Mark Laren Young, he also was in that actual class. Him and I did the same class together.
One of my memories was that the teacher didn't actually have much game, and the person I remember doing the most fun magic in that class was not our teacher, it was Steve. Because he was already charming, he was always putting on a show, and he was the one who came off most like a performer in that class. And yes, I very much am including the teacher in there.
Oh, I thought it was great for him. And, anything to never, looked at the magic, and I'm thinking, I don't want to know that. I just watch it. There's only one trick he showed me. I don't remember which one. That I said, you've got to show that one to me. And that was it.
I was probably 11 or 12 years old, maybe 13 years old, playing floor hockey at the Jewish Community Center where I ran into Steve the first time. I think everyone was playing floor hockey, and he was in a room down the hallway doing magic.
And Steve Kaplan was always, interestingly enough, when I think of him today, I don't see any difference between high school and today because he's never changed.
We would go to the Jewish Community Center and he would do magic, and I would hang out there all day and enjoy myself with him and his friends.
As far as I can remember, I've always associated Stephen with magic. He would often do magic shows, show me a trick here and there, or do several in front of a few people. And I never knew any magician at the time, just what I saw on TV. And I was always very intrigued. And I enjoyed his performances, and I enjoyed trying to figure out how it was done. I rarely did, but I definitely enjoyed the intrigue.
And you also have that magic inside that wants to see everybody smiling, laughing, and in awe of something extraordinary, so that he can let them believe that magic does exist, because he knows that that's the true essence of what the good light has provided Stephen with as a central sun of light, love, peace, harmony, and magic itself.